My brother has been tormenting my sister since childhood, but my parents always dismissed it as harmless teasing and made excuses for him. As a result, when my sister got engaged, she chose not to invite him to her wedding. So, my brother Mike, 35M, is a jerk, and I, 37F, believe he always will be. He's been coddled to the point of uselessness by our parents, turning him into an entitled mess. In his youth, he showed potential in rugby, which led our mom and dad to think he'd become a star. The issue, however, was his lack of discipline to achieve that potential. This made him the favorite child in our parents' eyes, untouchable no matter what he did. He was a bully at school, which they brushed off as other kids exaggerating, but he was even worse at home to our younger sister, Kelly, 31F. He constantly teased her, which was really just humiliating her, like lifting her skirt in front of everyone at a family wedding when she was 15. Our parents called it typical sibling behavior, but the rest of the family was appalled. I tried defending Kelly when I could, and it helped somewhat. But after I left for university, I couldn't do much since our parents refused to listen. It got so bad that at 18, Kelly gave up her dream of attending St. Andrews University and instead moved to London to study at Imperial College. This shocked us all, as she'd been set on St. Andrews since she was 11. When I asked why, she said, St. Andrews was too close to home, and she'd be expected to visit often. London meant she only had to return for Christmas. It broke my heart. After moving, she only came home for Christmas and my wedding, which frustrated our parents, who accused her of abandoning the family. I stayed quiet to avoid conflict, letting them vent occasionally. After graduating, they expected her to move back, but she didn't. She landed a job in southern England and stayed there. We're from Scotland, for context. 6 years ago, Kelly met Jake, 30 million, an amazing guy. The day they met, she called me, raving about him in a way I'd never heard before. I've met Jake several times when visiting Kelly, and he's fantastic, handsome, witty, with a great job and a kind family. Most importantly, he adores Kelly. It's adorable. After meeting Jake, Kelly visited home even less, spending her first Christmas with his family. Then the pandemic hit, so she didn't come home for 3 years. On her first Christmas back, Mike reverted to his usual nonsense, trying to steal the spotlight. When that failed, since the family was more interested in Jake, he tried to prank Kelly by planning to dump a bowl of water on her. Jake, who's 6 feet 3 inches and has trained in martial arts since he was a kid, stepped in front of her and warned Mike to back off. Our parents downplayed it as a joke, but Jake wasn't having it. Mike whined that it was just a prank, and Jake responded that if he tried it again, he'd prank Mike with a kick to his backside and a punch to his face. Kelly and Jake left soon after, but Mike and our parents were upset with Jake. Kelly hasn't returned home since. Fast forward to now, Kelly and Jake are getting married. They sent out wedding invitations in February for an August ceremony, but Mike wasn't invited. Our parents were furious and had a massive fight with Kelly. They threatened not to attend, and Kelly calmly said she'd have our granddad walk her down the aisle instead. I visited my parents' house on Saturday with my kids. My mom immediately started complaining about Kelly and the wedding. I listened for a bit before I'd had enough. I asked her what she expected. She and Dad had let Mike get away with everything as their golden child. Because of that, he can't maintain a relationship since he expects everyone to cater to him. He can't keep a job because he thinks every role is beneath him, and he's still living at home with no prospects. I called him a man-child and a bully I don't trust around my kids unsupervised. He tormented Kelly throughout her teenage years, forcing her to move over 400 miles away to escape and rarely come home. My mom went silent and then asked me to leave. Hours later, my dad called, furious that I'd upset Mom and was siding with an ungrateful brat instead of the parents who gave me everything. This sparked a huge argument where I told him he'd been a terrible father to Kelly and didn't deserve to walk her down the aisle. I was done holding back, but now extended family members are saying I went too far because Mom is barely speaking and keeps crying. My granddad said it was about time I called them out, but my grandma is upset about the family drama. So, AITA for telling my parents they were awful parents and deserved to be excluded from Kelly's wedding. Update. Wow, my post got way more attention than I expected. There were too many comments to reply to, but I read them all. Here's the update, addressing some common points first. The pranks only started after I left for university. Before that, Mike would say mean things to Kelly, and I'd snap back at him. But it wasn't extreme until I was gone, so I couldn't do much. I tried talking to our parents, but they were useless. Second, about my kids. I don't bring them to my parents' house often because they find it boring and don't like Mike. After reading comments, I asked them again. My daughter just finds it dull and thinks Mike is creepy. My son, however, revealed he dislikes being around my dad because he keeps pushing him to play rugby. I told Dad to stop, but he'd still bring it up occasionally. I didn't realize it upset my son so much, which was a shock. My son isn't into sports. He's a Pokemon kid who plays in local tournaments every Thursday, so rugby is a hard no third regarding wedding security. I spoke to Kelly and Jake, and 2 of Jake's groomsmen are police officers aware of the situation, so it's covered. Lastly, about Mike being the golden child. He wasn't favored until his rugby talent emerged. After that, our parents treated him like a star, as if his success made them special too. Today, I met with my parents and said I needed a break. My dad immediately demanded an apology for Mom, but I refused. After some arguing, Mom asked why I was there if not to apologize. I told them Kelly didn't want them at the wedding and to respect her choice. They were upset but agreed not to go where they weren't wanted. I then said I needed space until after the wedding because I couldn't keep biting my tongue around them. Mom was upset about not seeing my kids, so I told her the truth. They hate visiting, and my son dislikes Dad's rugby pressure. I warned Dad that if he mentions rugby to my son again, he won't see him anymore. For now, they'll only see my kids at family events. I also asked about their long-term plan for Mike. Will they baby him until they're 90, with Mom still cooking his meals? What happens when they're gone? Who'll care for him? It won't be me. If they get sick, who'll care for them? Mike can't. Kelly's in southern England, and I plan to move 3 hours away to my husband's hometown once my kids are grown. They looked stunned, like they'd never considered it. I pointed out that they've set Mike up for failure and need to address it. I also mentioned I know they're leaving everything to him in their will, but with how they've spoiled him, he'll likely burn through it in a year. Mom looked panicked, either because she hadn't thought about it or assumed I'd care for him, which I won't. She was also surprised I knew about their will. After laying out what low contact looks like and them being unhappy, I left. I hope I've given them food for thought. I'll check in occasionally, but keep my distance for now. I'm visiting Kelly soon and looking forward to it. My extended family backed off after I texted them that if they're so worried about Mom, they can deal with her and Mike like Kelly and I have for years. Unsurprisingly, no one volunteered. I'm just trying to move on. Thanks for the NTA verdict and advice. It opened my eyes to things I'd been ignoring. Next story. I found out my female co-workers created a group chat ranking the guys at work by attractiveness. But I was completely left off, even though they included delivery drivers who only stop by the store. So, I'm 21 million, working part-time at a store while in college. There are 21 of us at the store, 13 women and 8 men, all around the same age. The vibe is generally good, with no overt tension, and everyone gets along and jokes around, though the guys and girls tend to stick to their own groups. I'm well-liked, or so I thought, since I make an effort to be friendly to avoid being that jerk coworker. Here's where it gets messy. One of the guys, Chris, 23 million, is dating a coworker, Ashley, 21 female. While messing around on her phone, Chris found a group chat with the female coworkers. It was mostly typical girl talk, but he discovered a list ranking all the guys at work by how hot they were. He thought it was funny and sent a screenshot to our guys' group chat. Everyone laughed about it. And the top-ranked guy, Chad, 22 million, kept spamming crown emojis. I didn't see the chat until later since I was with my parents and had my phone on mute. When I checked it, I noticed I wasn't on the list at all. It felt like a punch to the gut. Worse, the list ranked 10 guys, including 3 delivery drivers who just drop off supplies and get flirted with by some of the girls. Being completely excluded, like I was too hideous to even consider, crushed me in a way I can't fully explain. I spent the day sulking and ignoring everyone. When I didn't reply to the group chat, the guys messaged me privately, but I didn't respond. From what I saw in the chat, they were getting annoyed on my behalf, which I didn't want. I called in sick the next day, and when I didn't show up, the situation blew up. The girls started messaging me with apologies and excuses, but I wasn't interested. I decided to suck it up and go to work the next day. The atmosphere was tense when I walked in. Becky, 23F, the assistant manager who was in the group chat, pulled me aside to talk. She apologized for everyone, saying the list was just silly girl talk, not meant to be seen. She said everyone, especially the women, valued me for more than my looks, and that I'd top a nicest guy list. It felt like damage control, and a friend zone jab rolled into one. I thanked her but said I didn't want pity and went about my shift. The guys and some girls kept trying to talk to me, which got so overwhelming that I asked the manager to leave early. She agreed, likely aware of the situation. This was 5 days ago, and since then, everyone's been trying to get me to talk, but I haven't gone back. I don't want their sympathy or justifications. If they think I'm unattractive, fine, but don't try to make me feel better about it. I need advice on handling this at work and with my coworkers, who I consider friends. How do I tell them to back off without pitying me? I'm honestly thinking about quitting. Edit. Thanks for the comments and tough love. To clarify, I don't feel entitled to being seen as attractive or anything else. Being left off the list for random delivery guys felt like a deliberate insult. It's not just that I wasn't deemed hot, it's that being excluded entirely felt unnecessarily cruel. Update 1? I'm back with an update, and no, there's no dramatic fight or arrests, just an update since people asked how I'm doing. To clarify, I wasn't upset about being called unattractive. Being left off the list entirely felt like a targeted slight. I don't feel entitled to anything. Also, the store manager, Barb, wasn't in the group chat. She's a 38-year-old mom too busy stopping us from smoking weed on breaks. She only learned about the situation later. Lastly, I didn't see the list right away because I was with my parents and had my phone muted. After reading comments, I decided I was overreacting a bit. I took my sister's advice and will start therapy to understand why the exclusion hit me so hard. My grandpa's old saying came to mind: I didn't get wounded in the Yadrong Valley so you could cry about X. In this case, X was girls thinking you're ugly. It made me laugh and toughen up. I told my manager I'd return to work the next day after my post. When I arrived, the manager took me to her office and said the owner, Carl, wanted to speak with me. I wasn't worried since Carl and I get along. He apologized for the situation, calling the list immature and unprofessional. He said the girls were reprimanded, and Becky was suspended for not stopping the list as assistant manager. He clarified that no one was punished because I requested it. He hadn't even spoken to me yet. He also offered to pay me for my missed shifts as compensation for the stress. I thanked him, said I was over it, and just wanted the situation to die down without people thinking I needed coddling. We shook hands, and I started my shift. Everyone welcomed me back, and I greeted them normally. In my locker, I found a handwritten letter from the girls apologizing profusely. They said the list was meant to be silly fun, not serious, and never meant to be seen. They emphasized that they all liked me as a person, which they said made me more attractive than most hot guys. They even called me cute, which made me chuckle. I spoke to Sam, 20F, a co-worker I'm close with, and told her to pass on that I accepted the apology, was over it, and didn't want anyone in trouble. I clarified I took time off to let things cool down, not because I took it personally. Unfortunately, the guys escalated it on my behalf. Sam apologized again and said she'd relay the message. That's where things stand. Sorry if this isn't the drama you expected. I just wanted to resolve it and move on. I'm considering not returning next semester, though. Thanks for the comments and support. Update 2. I got enough DMs asking for an update, so here's a quick one since I don't want to keep replying individually. First, I'm doing great. Therapy's been eye-opening, and I've learned a lot about myself, even seeing the world differently. I'm doing in-person sessions now, but will switch to virtual when school starts. Second, I started weight training. Not to become a bodybuilder, just to get some definition and maybe abs. I was always skinny, so I'm aiming for a lean, swimmer's build. I also got a haircut and updated my wardrobe, ditching old high school band tees for a semi-casual style, per my sister's advice. Third, I quit the store. It felt too awkward to stay. I finished the semester and got a summer internship. I ran into one of the girls from the store at the mall. She lives nearby. She asked if I was still upset about the list, and I said I wasn't and never really was. She reiterated that the list wasn't serious, and they all thought I was nice and pretty cute. I guess that's something. It's a bummer because I liked working there and hanging out with everyone, but it is what it is. I still hang out with my coworkers, and it's not weird. Thanks for following along.